We have with us today an eminent scholar, educationist, lover of art and culture, ex-chairman of ICCR and current chairman of the National Advisory Board of SPIC MACAY, Dr. Karan Singh. Welcome, sir, to this interview.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. So, as you know, SPIC MACAY has completed 40 years this year. What do you think the journey of SPIC MACAY has been so far?
I think SPIC MACAY has been one of the most remarkable success stories of our modern times, because Kiran started this 40 years ago just with a couple of people, and the way it has grown and the way it is now developed throughout India and around the world. It has thousands and thousands of events every year. It is reaching out into the remote rural areas, which is very good because they never have an opportunity to listen to really good classical music. And the big thing is basically is based on volunteers, although we do need money, of course, from time to time for our programs, but the entire program is really revolving around volunteers, deeply committed young people and elderly people. So I've been very impressed with SPIC MACAY ever since it began, and now, of course, since Indraji passed away, Indra Gujral passed away, I've become chairman of the advisory committee. So I would like to congratulate the entire SPIC MACAY Parivar from Kiran Seth downward for the extraordinary, remarkable achievement that they've done.
So, as you know, we are poised to reach out to every student, every last kid in the country, and exposing them to Indian classical art forms. And now recently we have started the initiative going out to Odisha, the remote areas of Odisha and Goa. In your view, how do you observe this strategy of SPIC MACAY?
To reach every child in India is, of course, a massive task involving, I don't know how many crores of people. But SPIC MACAY is beginning to do that. I'm very happy. It began, of course, in the metros, and it began in the city. Then it went to the cities. From the cities, it went to the Mufassal areas. Now it's moving out into the rural areas. Now that is really something quite extraordinary, because the rural areas, as I said, are really deprived. Although now, mind you, television is become more popular, but unfortunately, there is very little classical music, hardly any classical music or dance on television. That's one of my great complaints against television.
Right.
That they have so many channels now,
absolutely,
but hardly any channel devoted entirely, for example. You cannot, if you want to watch a good Bharatanatyam performance, you need 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Where can you see it? I at least haven't found a channel where you can see it. So for SPIC MACAY to take top class artists out into the rural areas is something very, very, very good, and I think that is something very praiseworthy. It strengthens and deepens the presence of SPIC MACAY in India and abroad.
Absolutely, sir. And you have been advocating the importance of value education through,
of course,
intangible heritage of the country.
For years and years I've been doing that.
So how do you think the intangible heritage of India needs to be integrated with Indian education system?
You see, I've really spoken about education for half a century now around the world, and I have always stressed the fact that while on the one hand, certainly the new technology is there with all its marvels and mysteries, and it's reached the moon and so on, and most remarkable things are happening. Whereas we must study sciences, the so-called hard sciences, and also social sciences. But there is this third dimension. Let's look at it this way. Let's look at it as a sort of a Triveni. You have the hard sciences, which are the major river, the Ganga. Then you have the social sciences, which is the Jamuna. But then you must have the Adrishya Saraswati, the invisible Saraswati. Will not, without that you will not have a complete Sangam. And that invisible Saraswati is our heritage of music, our heritage of dance, our heritage of language, our heritage of all forms of dance. We have so many beautiful dance forms, classical dance forms in India. We have Hindustani music, we have Karnataka music, we have instrumental music, we have vocal music. So between them, this rich heritage cannot remain the privilege only of a few people
right.
in the cities. This has to spread. And this is something actually the government has done. I remember there used to be music classes when I went to school and some hobbies and all, but normally and generally in schools now, they don't have time for any cultural activity. All they're doing is trying to get marks and
More of tokenism.
Yes, tokenism. So I think it's very important what SPIC MACAY is doing to try and not only preserve and promote, it not only educates the people who watch it, it preserves and promotes the artists themselves, because they also get the feeling that they are still relevant and that they can do a lot to help the younger generation.
And so, talking about policies, we have been talking of policies for years and years now, as you yourself said. You find there is a huge gap between policy and implementation or budgetary allocation. And
Yes, I think that, well, policies also, we've been hearing about the new education policy for so many years. It's still supposed to be on the anvil. I mean, the anvil is going to collapse if they don't bring out a policy pretty soon. This new government came, first of all, there was when the first minister was there, she came out with some kind of a policy. Then that was, I don't know, trashed over. Then when the new minister came in, he said he's going to make a new policy. So we're still waiting for that.
Right.
But there have been policies, mind you. There's the Radhakrishnan Commission, there's the Kothari Commission. They're very great educationists in this country have put their minds together. But of course there is a gap between the policy and between the implementation, because we have never really given as much percentage of the GDP that we should. We should have given, I think, 6% of the GDP to education. I don't think we're around 3% if I'm correct. You better check your figures. So therefore, of course it's a very difficult task. I mean, 1 crore and a billion and a quarter people, 130 crore people, and so many lakhs and lakhs of schools are needed. But nonetheless, we have to invest more in education, because if we don't, the younger generation is going to suffer. And as I said, our education should be integral.
Right.
We should have the sciences, we should have the social sciences, but we must have art and culture also.
Absolutely, sir. So there is rising conflict around the world that we see today. What role can culture play in the resolution of this conflict?
You see, from the dawn of human history, conflicts have been unfortunately with us. They are getting more and more lethal now, more and more dangerous. The most lethal century so far has been the 20th century.
Right.
This one, God forbid, might even become more lethal the way things are going. There's tension everywhere. There's social tensions, there are economic tensions, there are ideological tensions. In this whole background, art and culture plays a positive role, a soothing role, a healing role. Because when people are singing or when they are dancing or when they are watching performances, then they become better human beings. They don't always concentrate on the negative areas. So one of the great positivities in human civilization has been art and culture, particularly I would say the performing arts, which is music and dance. Music and dance have been as old. If you look at the cave paintings in France, you'll find that they had instruments, so that there's some kind of musical things going on. And it's always another thing worth remembering, a lot of our music revolved around religion. For example, the Bharatanatyam grew in the Shiva temples of South India.
Yeah.
And the dance is really devoted to the Lord, not to the audience. Later on, it is developed beautifully by Rukmini, Arundel and others. It's become the world's most beautiful system. Similarly, the Odissi dances are very Vaishnava oriented and so on. Even the Sufi songs, the Qawwalis and all in Islam, also in Sufi Islam particularly, music plays a very important role. So I would definitely say that in a world beset with trouble and strife and conflict, art and culture can represent a very significant countervailing force towards harmony and peace and brotherhood and sisterhood between human beings. I have been singing from the age of 10. I'm now 86, so 76 years I've been singing. It's a long time. and I was learning classical music when I was Sadr Riyasat in Jammu and Kashmir. My father was very keen on classical music, and so I still practice once a week. Every Friday evening I do my riyaz. At the same time, my mother was from Kangra, and from her I learnt a lot of Dogri tunes and bhajans. So what I did was, I have composed a number of bhajans in Dogri. I recorded them for HMV, it is, I think, and the cassettes are available. So without music, half my life would be lost. Music for me is very much part of my life. And as far as dance is concerned, I am a Bharatanatyam admirer, and I think that it is the most extraordinary. I know I was accused when I was president of the ICCR. I was accused of being very partial towards Bharatanatyam, but perhaps I am. I mean, it's my personal opinion, but that doesn't mean, each dance form has got its own glory. But that is it. That is it. I love music. I love watching dance, and I don't get enough of it in Delhi. So unless I go and settle in Tamil Nadu, that's when I'll be able to see some more dances.
More Bharatanatyam, of course.
I know, of course, that now in this digital age, the youngsters are also always tuning in. Mind you, I also happen to be a rock addict. Let me tell you this, will surprise you. So it doesn't mean that if you love classical music, you can't enjoy rock. I mean, I came to rock and roll long before Elvis Presley, from Bill Haley and the Comets. I mean, long before your fathers were born.
Long back.
And 60 years ago, 70 years ago. So I love any kind of music. As president of the ICCR, I began a rock show, a boy band, SARC rock festival every year. That boy bands from the SARC countries, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, they came, they performed here in the Purana Khila. Then we started a jazz festival. So any kind of music, we mustn't become too rigid about music. Mind you, but I don't like this mixed music. You know, the so-called fusion music. I'm afraid is a flop. I like to see pure Bharatanatyam. I love a pure Bhopali. I love a pure Malkans. And in the dance also, the moment you start mixing the dances, maybe I'm sort of a classicist, and therefore I don't. There are some good artists. I don't want to rubbish all of them. But generally, I think that if we're going to go for our classical arts, it's better to look at each one of them on its own. So yes, even despite the digital age, I think our classical music. My only regret is, as I said, that there is not any space whatsoever, it seems to me, on television for classical dance and music. In radio, at least, you can still sometimes hear some good Carnatic music at night. Sometimes 10 se 10:30 it comes at night, and you can have some Hindustani music, but not on television. And that is the most powerful medium. Why don't we? This DD Bharati was supposed to be in. I do not know. Frankly, I haven't watched it for a long time, but it was supposed to be the vehicle for a renaissance in the arts and culture. But I think
they do have some shows for at night and during the day.
They do. They're full classical shows.
Full. They would show classical concerts, and in fact, hopefully they would telecast the convention happening, SPIC MACAY convention.
They're going to telecast that.
Hopefully.
Good.
So that is there.
Good. No, SPIC MACAY is doing very well, and I'm delighted to be associated with it. And as I said, I think you gave a Bharat Ratna to Sachin Tendulkar. I think Karan Singh deserves it even more than he does.
Oh, absolutely, no doubts about it.
But I think I need to say something about Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Sanskrit is you talk of heritage. Sanskrit is a very great heritage. It's a national heritage. From Kashmir all the way down to Kanyakumari, literally. From Shankaracharya to Acharya Abhinav Gupta, Sanskrit has been the major vehicle of our philosophy, and it has to be preserved and protected. It cannot become a lingua franca, but it should be available at least. It should be there as a heritage. You don't have to use it. It should be available, and the Sanskrit, it's in its music, because I think that's the Samaveda is where the music began, And the Sanskrit shlokas, for example, let me end now with a shloka to Mahalakshmi, the beautiful shloka. It describes her, how she emerges seated on a great white flower, and she is richly caparisoned, and she is bejeweled, and she's being bathed on either side by elephants, 6 tusked elephants, pouring Amrita ambrosia over her. Yasa padmasanastha vipul katitati padma patrayatakshi gambhira vartanabhistan bharanamita shubhra vastrottariya Lakshmir divyahi gajendrehi manigan khajitehi snapita hema kumbhi nityam sa padmahasta mama vasatu grahe sarvamangalya yukta Karpura gauram karunavataram sansarasaram bhujagendraharam sada vasantam hridayarvinde bhavam bhavani sahitam namam. The dance began with Shiva. Nrityavasane natarajarayo nanadadakkam navapanchavaram uddhartu kaman sanakadi siddhan khetatvimarshe shivasutrajan. Jai Ho.
Hi friends, welcome to my channel Dragons. I have created this channel to bring best of creative content to you, like films, poetry, and delve deeper into different forms of art and music. Please support this creative venture. Please like and share and subscribe my channel Dragons.